Chapter 5 The Aureate Sophist. Rose awakes in an inn room. She instantly recognizes it. Cheap curtains on an open window, a half-eaten chocolate cake, blood. It's hard to forget the place she met her end in. Rose looks around, tentative of her surroundings. The tiefling is on the floor with his pants still down, eyes are glossy, mouth agape in statuesque fear. This look will be frozen in time for perpetuity, and the blood pools underneath him. Instinctually, she feels her chest. It's broader and flatter than she remembers, with an absence of any dagger. She looks down, her hands are large and white. She turns, looking for the nearest mirror. She's met with the face of her killer, who looks fatigued, like he just fought for his life. The mirror is unhelpfully close to the bed. There's something that looks like her, pressed into the duvet, bloodied and bruised, with a dagger freshly planted into her heart. She can't help but look at herself for a moment. It's rare to get a third-person view like this. I look awful, she thinks to herself. Well, I did just get murdered. However, she takes a good look at herself. It looks like she's sleeping, muscles relaxing to her side, and skin healthy with blood somehow, unlike the pale tiefling on the floor. She can barely see her own chest rise and fall with each breath. There's a sudden anger as she realizes she's been put in the body that took everything from her. She begins searching for a weapon, or something to identify him. With the adrenaline wearing off, there's a pain blooming in his crotch, like he'd been kicked there not long ago. He's slightly bruised, hair a mess, but he looks a damn sight better than the other two people in the room. However, the search yields nothing of note. A dagger, but nothing else that hasn't already been used, and there's only so much she can dream up in her own imagination without knowing anything concrete. Taking the blade, Rose attempts to force the changeling to run the blade across his own throat, but self-preservation kicks in as soon as the sharp pain pricks his own neck. He withdraws it, gasping, dropping the blade. Rose no longer feels in control of this body. He backs into the wall, surveying the ruins of the scuffle. A woman, caught unaware in her nap. A man bleeding out with his pants down, celebrating a birthday. Slowly, he slides down, collapsing onto the floor. Choking out a laugh, it's devoid of any humour or victory. It sounds more like he's coping with some unsatisfactory ending. He finally succeeded, after all this time. But it doesn't feel anything like it should. It doesn't feel like anything at all. The next time Rose wakes up, she's in a bed. Ah, she says, a bed. Much better than a burial chamber. Also, what the fuck was that dream? I lost control of it there at the end. Did that actually happen? She glances around, eyes heavy, drooping from unsatisfactory first night under the tree's supervision. Alright, where the fuck am I this time? Groggily, she slides out of the unfamiliar bed to get her bearings. It's a small wooden room, filled with not much at all. There's a bedside cabinet next to her, a bucket for washing up, a table and chair. The sheets feel a little old, but clean. Either this is someone's personal room, or she's been stuffed into an inn room that's definitely not the one she checked into the night before. There's a momentary ache in her chest, where the dagger once resided, before it ebbs away into nothing. Even as dazed as she is, the horrifying experience last night and the dream that followed are still fresh in her mind. Let's see what today brings, she says as she gives herself a quick inspection to make sure nothing is stolen or damaged or if she's injured. She finds her coin pouch missing about 20 gold. So 20 gold? Better than it all, but why 20? She exits the room and heads down the stairs. There's a small bar and a few tables, a much tinier breed of tavern than what the draconic delve offered. A halfling bartender notes her approach. Hey you, you're finally awake. Had a few pints too many? Sure look the part. Rose is desperate to make sure Hughes is still right where he's meant to be, tempted to just leave the establishment without as much a word, but it only makes sense for her to ask how she ended up here. Yeah, you could say that. I can't imagine the mess I was in. How did I even get here? Last I remember, I was in some alley before just passing out. In that moment, the "do I know you" rings out in her mind. What could it mean? Surely that nobody she knew in her past life? Was it chasing her down because it recognized her? "A Laura Kelled you in at midnight," the bartender says, fisting a rag into a dirty glass like it owed her money. "Nice girl. She does the night patrol. Said she found you passed out on a park bench. Looked a little off, and seemed like you'd been there for a while. Probably wanted to make sure the homeless didn't start picking your shit like a bunch of seagulls." Rose sighs hearing this. "I think that's exactly what happened. I'm 20 gold lighter, but it is what it is." So, she was left somewhere. Seems there'll be no more decent information until this person around. She'll leave that for a later time. Reaching into her coin pouch again, she pulls out 5 gold. "Please give this to her as thanks. I dread to think how much worse it could have been without her intervention. I must take my leave. I am late for something important." She speeds out of the inn, making her way back to where? None of the street names look familiar, nor do the surroundings. And while it's still Monday, that big tree is still above her like a looming titan, but she has no idea how to get back. God, why did everything change so much? Why am I so fucking far away? Rose runs up to the nearest illuminate. "Excuse me, can you give me directions to the Draconic Dove? I appear to have gotten lost." The illuminate guarding the imposing building turns towards her, propping himself up with his halberd. He seems to be lacking his morning coffee. "That's some distance away, miss. About half an hour away? Maybe less, if you leg it. Just follow those stairs down and turn left once you reach the Moonbeam Brewery. Stinks to high heavens, can't miss it." Rose takes a breath before doing plenty of that legging. She offers a quick thanks and a bow of her head before following the directions. She wants to jog at a fast pace, but not full sprint, something sustainable. However, exhaustion would quickly take its hold after a terrible night, and she'd run out of steam, forcing her to walk. The 40 minutes it takes her to arrive at the Draconic Dove gives her plenty of time to think. Who was that necrotic figure? The dream. What was his goal? If he knew he couldn't kill her, then what was the point of it all? And what did Hughes intend with this doll? Having some quips is fine and all, but this was apparently 2 years of diary entries. There's a lot going on in a small span of time, and there's far more questions than answers. But after some time she arrives at the Draconic Dove. She wastes no time heading straight to her room to hopefully find Prolman Hughes. And she makes a beeline up the stairs, not sparing a glance to anyone in the tavern. Thankfully, her inn keys weren't among the missing items, so she unlocks the door and swings it open. A green blur tackles her before she can move an inch, grabbing onto her leg. You're back! Where did you go?" There's clear worry and relief in her voice. "Finally crawled back after a dozen beers," Hughes remarks, sluggish and exhausted, sounding as lazy as it looked. "Did you at least get the milk?" Rose breathed a sigh of relief, like a world of weight was lifted off her shoulders. "I got lost and—" She looks to Hughes, and says this to infer some context. "I ran into an old friend. Sorry, I didn't come back. I got really tired and ended up sleeping at another inn. Didn't feel like I slept, though. Why do you sound so tired, Hughes?" "Why do I—" The doll barely restrains its exasperated outburst. Literal green goblin here was zooming all over the place for 4 whole hours. 2 hours after that was her bawling because she went off for milk. Forever. Do you know what that's like? Trying to remember nursery rhymes from 4 decades ago so you might get a brat to pipe down? Rose gets the feeling that the covert message has been understood, but still evidently annoyed by the risks she took by going off alone. Prome, still smothered into Rose's leg, looks up, with a tear in her eye. "The golden-eyed lady gave me some food." Hughes scoffs, and thank fuck for that too. Took over babysitting duties for a good hour. Anyway, you've got a whole lot of show and tell to do. He infers that this is after the goblin is gone. With a nod, Rose takes note that someone came to help and she'll address that later. "Shall we get you prepared to go and see Granny then?" Prone lets out a final sharp sniffle as she looks up and nods. "All right, grab your things. We'll head out when you're ready." Rose sits on the bed, letting out an exhausted sigh from taking the weight off. She picks up Hughes and hugs him tight. The doll says nothing as she brings him into a tight embrace, the same way she did in her adolescence, after a bad night's dream or whatever was keeping her up. It warms her heart, easing her tension ever so slightly, except now she feels the faint impression of a palm patting and soothing her back. Eventually, Prome's diminutive voice pipes up, waking her from her trance. "I'm ready to go now." Anything she's left out during her absence has been packed haphazardly into her backpack, now secured onto her back. While she still looks a little anxious, it's eased slightly by Rose's return. She's eyeing the mountain of half-eaten cake left on the table. "Can I take some with me?" Rose smiles gently at this. "Of course, take as much as you like." She quickly gets her boots on once more and leaves when Prome is loaded up. For now, Hughes doesn't leave her sight again. Upon heading downstairs from the receptionist desk, Thalgra, the golden-eyed waitress, regards her with a nod, smiling with a hint of relief. She waves, though Rose realizes it's to Prome rather than to Rose, and she notes the goblin returning the wave. Rose regards the golden-eyed waitress with a smile and nod and thanks. As she cautiously takes her leave from the inn and heads towards the Glass Hag, Rose realizes she's just as much of a danger by existing, just like she told Sealine. She wants to deliver Prome as safely and quickly as possible. Having been there once before, it's quick work to find her way back to the Glass Hag again. The streets are livelier now, stalls vibrant with produce and patronage, footfalls of all type. Yardley's shop is no different. Walking in, there are already a few patrons browsing the shelves and sitting and waiting to be called. Rose gestures to Prome to take a seat until Yardley's ready for her. In the meanwhile, Rose browses non-committally to pass the time. She doesn't really have much to say to Prome, or anything else that needs to be said in public at the moment. There's a large assortment of herbs and reagents stuffed into small cabinets behind her desk. The overwhelming scents mingling together is enough to tell her this. She's been in fancy soap stores before that have had their bath bombs open on display, and she thinks this store might rival that on an equal level of pungency, though none of the herbs look overly impressive to her alchemically layman eyes. Eventually, the old woman appears from the storage closet with a few wrapped bottles in hand. She only acknowledges Rose's arrival after handing the customers their prescriptions. She gives the anxious-looking goblin a momentary glance before looking to Rose questioningly. "Just on time, if a little early. Anything I should know?" Prome seems to want to speak up, but has decided to occupy herself by picking at her nails instead. Rose looks down. "Well, this is the most shy or anxious I've seen her. Normally plenty energetic when it comes to stuff like this," Rose makes the assumption. Yardley lets out a sigh that she immediately recognizes from Hughes's years of haphazard parenting. "Wonderful," she says, crossing her arms. After a moment, she kneels down to meet Prome's downward gaze. "I'll be occupied for much of today. Can you keep yourself busy with some crayons and paper?" The old woman nods to the plush cushion in the corner that certainly wasn't there yesterday. "You can have a seat by the bookshelf." Prome doesn't look up, but she nods. "Okay, I can do that." The old woman nods and rises back up, turning away to attend some shelves in the opposite corner. Prome turns her gaze to meet Rose. "Thank you for bringing me here, and for the cake, and the bath, and helping with the crocodile. Will you visit me?" Her gaze is pleading, but it might be because of her current anxious feeling. "Of course, I'll stop by often. I do look forward to seeing your progress." She turns to Yardley, mouthing the words, "Don't pat her head," to save any future earaches. The woman raises a questioning eyebrow at Rose, but makes no further comments as she goes back to scribbling on her sheet of paper, perhaps for inventory management. Prome's gaze perks up, seemingly more encouraged. "Okay, when you come back, I'll be the best student ever, and brother can see it too when he comes." Prome bends down and carefully pulls out 2 bottles from her bag. It's the same orange potion she fed Rose on the first meeting in the swamp. "This is a thank you gift, in case you get bit by more crocodiles here." Rose chuckles at the remark. "Well, thank you. I'm sure I'll need them." Rose turns to Yardley. "If you need me for anything, I'm more than happy to help. I'm staying at the Draconic Dove. I'll be looking for work while I'm there. Freelance, adventuring type thing while I get my bearings. Yardley lets out a droll hum. Draconic Dove. Thalgra and Junia's place, if I'm not mistaken. If you're any good at hunting, then I will work you like a horse. She sounds completely serious in this. It's currently my specialty, Rose says. Filled the stores of the butchers and the Marshalmaras with gator steak, lizard meat, snakes, toads on night one. She stands proudly, trying to sell her abilities. Even skinned them, harvested teeth and tongue. I can do most anything. So please, feel free. I will sorely need the coin after what I've been through. Rose sees a very amused smirk at the corner of her face. Ah, an accomplished hunter. Then you'll be able to slay some behirs for me? Some lightning sacks would be invaluable for my work. Rose doesn't blink at this. I have had encounters with them in my past, my prime. Give me some time and I'll be more than happy once I get back into the swing of things, she says with a cheeky grin, trying to show some more confidence. Feel free to get settled with Prome first. I have some business to attend to for the majority of today. I can swing by, or you can send me a shopping list at your own convenience. Fine by me, Yardley responds. And you are? It occurs to Rose that she's never actually introduced herself. Ah, Rose. Sarmenti. She pauses, and Hughes fills that pause. Malone, trying to mimic her voice. Rose continues speaking. A pleasure to make your acquaintance. She bows her head while giving a gentle curtsy, trying not to swipe at Hughes for his intrusion. Rose Sarmenti Malone, she says, going back to the list in her hand without question. Interesting name. Perhaps you'll hear from me shortly. Yes, I look forward to it. Rose again offers another bow before taking her leave. As soon as they're out of earshot, she comments to Hughes, Really? Now is the time for that? The doll snickers. And they fucking bought it, you deadbeat. Look, I gotta get my jimmies in every once in a while, and I'm overdue for it. You can't say I haven't been behaving. Rose groans. Yeah, you earned it playing babysitter. I've got my dress to pick up in a couple of hours. Should we go back and discuss what happened last night? Hughes pulls back on the snippy attitude a little, but something slips out. Should we? Yeah, be my guest, just not out in public. Rose makes her way back to the Draconic Dove with little fanfare. There's a few stragglers still finishing their breakfast in the tavern, and she gets back up to her room without interruption. Prome has tidied up after herself as well as a 4-year-old can, which is to say, her bed covers are askew and there are crumbs on the table where the cake was sitting. The wash tub is also half filled and on the floor, but she expects it might have been housed for a bunch of frogs rather than for any washcloth. For now, she gets the luxury of having a double bedroom to herself. Yet another sigh of relief knowing the space is hers once more and she can speak more openly. She places Hughes on the bed as she lays beside it, trying to get comfortable. So the black ghost armor thing found me again last night. So I got from your incredibly vague explanation earlier, somehow. Hughes pauses, almost as if giving Rose a once-over. But you're still alive. Unless you're not. Wouldn't be the first time, according to you. Rose pauses. Yeah, it chased me down through town after slicing what I think was one of the Illuminates clean in two. I thought I had managed to lose it, but it caught me. The last thing I remember before pissing my pants and passing out was saying, "Do I know you?" in some very strange tone. I woke up the next morning in another inn. The keeper there said I was found in a park bench miles away from where I was. Okay. The doll seems to have a sense of disbelief in its words. That's a lot. I got like 20% of that. How the fuck did that happen? You piss on its grave or something? But more importantly, this Ooga Booga ghost might know you. I've only been here for a day tops. Yeah, that's what freaked me out. Surely no chance it can know me from 300 years prior. Not unless something much fuckier than we could have anticipated is going on, Rose responds. Peanut, this whole situation was already fucked to begin with. Big tree. Big church full of church hippies. Baitless fishing, he seethes. It's a little late for that. But now you also got some vengeful murder ghost on your tail. At least I got rid of one of the hippies. Rose laughs a little at this. Well, true, it only adds more questions. Doubtless an unreliable source of answers, assuming it could give them. I'm sorry for walking out last night. I needed to process a couple of things, and it led me to a question. You said that you only had in you what Hughes had been speaking to you for the past 2 years since you were made. You seem to have a lot of knowledge that I'm surprised he would talk about. You mentioned being a diary. Do you know if he had any reason to make that, other than to be a quippy birthday present? It sounds like the doll would shrug. I don't know. Can't a man get carried away with a secret project every once in a while? Like that beehive dildo. Man, good times. Rose deflates a little. I don't believe you, but I don't sense that you're lying. So, I don't know what to say. It just kinda hurts, always being left in the dark, regardless of how emotionally constipated he was. Always dodging. Guess you inherited that too, huh? She sighs again. Well, if you don't know, then there's no point pressing it. Information lost to time. For now, I need to plan my next move. The doll snarks a little. Pot? Meat kettle? But I get it. Whatever. Water under the bridge. It's not like I never jumped ship from shit I couldn't be bothered with. Just as long as you get back in one piece. Well, what now? Rose puffs out her cheeks in an exasperated manner. I suppose it's high time I go and see this tree, get my clothes, try and find out as much as I can about this new religion I've to contend with. Too much to do in a single day, to be honest. The doll scoffs. Ah, yes, just what Sugar Daddy ordered. He doesn't sound too enthused. And I suppose the tree huggers will just let you waltz up to their golden idol without a concession fee? Rose chuckles slightly. I was already tired of Order's vague bullshit, and let's be honest. If I'm going to go up to this tree, and I get some more vague bullshit, I'm just going to avoid it. But she pauses for a moment. I had a dream last night. The night we were both killed. I saw us from his eyes. I tried to make him kill himself with his own dagger, but I lost control before waking up. Felt like he had a mission, but was unhappy or empty at its conclusion. I remember him saying, shortly before I was killed, that I was still required on the golden path. I have no idea what any of it means. The doll scoffs slightly. Neither do I. You talk about white fuckers stabbing us, but you still haven't actually told me what happened that day. I know you and the tin can talked some shit about the sugar daddies upstairs invading your dreams like a bunch of voyeurs, but other than that, I don't know why you're having wet dreams about this guy. That's the moment where it dawns on Rose that she hasn't actually explained to Hughes what happened. She just assumes that he knows because he was there. Right, okay, where to begin? Rose takes in a deep breath. So it all started off with us getting harassed left, right and centre. We decided it's best to go to Cartha City to take a break. Got a big fat chocolate cake, pigged out as we did. I went for a nap, you went to take a dump. Next thing, this bulky changeling has his fillings stabbing me. I try to fight it, he's too strong. You come out and he one-hits you with a throwing knife. He talks some shit about how I'm order, so he must be chaos. Says we can't kill each other because of some pact from the sugar daddies. Tells me I'm still required on this golden path before reciting a spell and I just pass out. Next thing, I wake up here 300 years later. I asked why, and he responded with, "This is the only way." Yet another bastard who thinks being cryptic is pretty. There's a pregnant pause in the air. I see. Again, not how I expected to kick the bucket, but I believe it, the doll says. Would have preferred to go out with a bang, not a dump. You told me that in the streets, though. This chaos thing is new, so's the changeling part. You didn't think that was worth mentioning at all? Rose stammers a little. Well, you, the doll, and you, Hughes, were both there. I assumed at least something would have made it through. Also, this is the first time we're really talking about it. Hughes scoffs. Yeah, and it's overdue as fuck, Kettle. See, here's what I think. Everything that I know is what your dad knows. As I said, he was pushing shit into me like a backed-up drain up until the day I was handed over. I don't fucking remember what spell he was casting, but he sure as hell wasn't casting anything that day, or else I might have remembered. You can't record a death if you don't know what's happening, obviously. It takes a deep breath into its non-existent lungs. Between that and getting punted 300 years into the future, those are my blind spots. Embarrassing murder? Barely know her. Everything else? Crystal clear. As much as he described it, anyway. Rose pauses slightly. Well, he did also say you were 1 foot in the grave. Given how thin you were getting, I guess he didn't say shit about that either, did he? Regardless, I've not been avoiding it. I've been trying to survive and get a semblance of relative safety these past few days. The doll spits. Doesn't matter. Anyone would kick the bucket in 300 years anyway. What difference does a few pounds make? But this annoys Rose. Yes, it does matter. Why can't you just tell me what was going on? But the doll deflects. Because... is this really the time for this? Some changeling fuckaroo made you into a pincushion. Now some ghost of Christmas past is on your ass. Who the fuck cares about dead old dad? Rose stands in clear frustration. Me? Obviously, you fucker. I spent so much time worrying about you, wanting to help, and you shut me out time and time again. It was like you didn't want me to care about you, but I did, and I always will. Regardless of if you never acknowledge it or reciprocate it, I cared. Is that so wrong? Now the doll seems to be getting frustrated. It's... God fucking damn it. Something in the doll's obstinate barrier cracks. It's stupid. So fucking stupid. It spits. It's frustrated that it's even saying anything at all. You know what your dad was? He was a coward. Capital C for cunt. You cared about someone, Hughes, who made me, also Hughes, by the way, because he was too chicken shit to tell you he was biting the dust in the first place. There's a wave of relief, as finally she's getting somewhere. Finally. Answers. It was clear as day that something was wrong. I just couldn't parse what it was. So what, he made you some kind of goodbye gift? That's pretty tactless. She says this, not taking into account the doll's feelings. And what did you want him to do? The doll sounds personally affronted. I wanted him to talk to me, like I'm someone he actually cares about. I'm happy with what I have here, but I would have wanted him to tell me himself. The doll bites back. And deal with the waterworks? I'd rather eat my tail than babysit another crying goblin, and I'm him. The barrage of callous remarks is one she's heard many times, in many different forms. One of his defense mechanisms when he's trying to get away from feeling anything inconvenient. Remember when you had some shitty ball to go to, and I threw myself out of a window rather than get dragged into that mess? Is that a newsflash to you? No, right? Why did you think this would be any different? Rose sighs. Because going to a ball and literally dying are two starkly different things. It's past now, though. Hopefully, you'll be different, she says with low expectations. And the doll hesitates. Don't hope too hard. It wasn't meant to be like this. Rose pauses. What do you mean by that? There's a long pause from the doll. Your dad did leave a message. His final one. One you can get by squeezing my chest with the proper phrase. It says these words, slowly and mutely. Rose didn't realize the doll could make talking sound as painful as crawling through spikes. But I wasn't supposed to be still here with a sentient noggin, so that you could poke me with more questions and everything after the fact. He lets out a heavy groan. Do you know how fucking awkward it would be to listen to your own parting words? Rose gets the feeling that it had a different word in mind than awkward. Something that would be emotionally inconvenient to say. Oh, that's right. I haven't really needed to ask any questions and squeeze for a response, given I've got you to talk to. Rose thinks for a moment, unsure what trigger phrase Hughes would use for something like that. Are you unhappy to be here? Still alive? I would understand, given the circumstances. And no, I definitely wouldn't want to hear my own, so I also understand your reasoning. She says this with a sad undertone. As much as she didn't want Hughes, or Doll Hughes, to suffer, it still meant a lot to her that he was here for her. Yeesh, Peanut. Throw me more heavy questions, why don't you? To be honest with you, I don't know. He pauses. Never mind asking if I'm happy to be alive now. I don't even know if I was happy to be alive back then. Or unhappy. Shit's ambiguous. But I'm not going to ditch you. Yeah? No ditching. He says this to reaffirm his own words. Alright, I understand. I'm glad you're here, you know? It's a comfort. But if this topic's too heavy for you, like I imagine it would be for him, we can talk about something else. Yeah, good idea. It sounds absolutely relieved for the change of topic, but it doesn't say anything immediately. So, the dude that murked us, how do you know he was a changeling? You see him shift in the middle or something? Sounds like a shitty changeling to me if you've already figured that out instantly. Rose tilts her head slightly. I mean, you remember that white fucker I kept mentioning? I'm not talking about the Illuminates. They were very fucking reflective. Had all the visual characteristics of a changeling. Basically a male version of Lox, if you remember her. The doll scoffs. Obviously. Power-hungry tramp. It spits. Even in doll form, it still remembers its strong distaste for the changeling. Glad she burned to ash. But what I mean is, he wasn't in any disguise at all, as some old lady or Mr. Rogers, I don't know. Could have dressed up as you just to fuck with you. Would be the first time that's happened. Rose sighs. No, just a straight-faced changeling. As wrong as it sounds to say. I didn't feel like he was being dishonest about his intentions. It's hard to say, but I feel like he had nothing to hide. Rose tries to think back on the encounter. That, for her, was just a few days ago. Well, that sure makes me feel better about the entire thing. Hey, I'm here to put you into a permanent nap. Alright, thanks for being honest. 5 out of 7. Man. It groans, but in the fashion of hearing a bad pun rather than out of genuine annoyance. Anyway, aren't shifting forms kind of their thing? Pretty sure you couldn't waterboard a changeling out of the disguise if it came to it. I haven't tried. Would have loved to, it says with grudgeful malice. But if this guy was stark naked white, either he was so confident that he didn't even bother to pretend you were a challenge, or he really didn't give a shit about himself. It sounds like something he had witnessed firsthand. I'm talking about a guy who has nothing left to lose. Reckless. God is great, swan song shit. I think I prefer it to be the latter. The former's just bad manners. Rose pauses, thinking about it. Yeah, it definitely was strange. I mean, I would have fully expected a disguise, which is why I labelled it as honest, I guess. I absolutely did not want to be murdered, but it just didn't feel like he was trying to hide anything. She creases her forehead. Fucking cryptic bitch, though. Golden path, my left ass cheek. Just tell me why you're killing me, God. Hughes responds flippantly. Ask him in your dreams, then, since he's clearly living in your head rent-free. Some 2-bit changeling without any sense of self-preservation, probably pushing up daisies by now. Rose chuckles slightly. You say that, but fate is cruel. Maybe he's ascended by now, she loosely jests. Going back to this boogeyman, there's nobody out here that knows who I am, so I can't help but run through the list of people I know in my head. Who it might be. Hughes ponders for a moment. Nobody that knows who you are, apart from maybe that religion shit you were freaking out about at the gates. Sure, hit me. I mean, that's option number 1, Rose sighs. These golden eyes are like a hive of fucking illithid that share one network, and he's part of it. That's my least crazy theory. Rose puffs out in exasperation due to the crazy thoughts that were coming. It could be anyone we were close to. Nephany, Gideon, Faldranth, maybe even the original you. Could be anyone from the Sanctuary, the fucking king, ugh. Could be our enemies. God knows we are still unsure if we actually got Edmund. Any of those people could somehow have ended up in some twisted fate to walk the land as a necrotic justice bringer. Hell, it could even be one of the old demigods. There's a large array, but that's the extent of it all. The doll pauses to listen to the theory, even if it takes a bit longer for it to respond. Honestly, that first one? I'd fucking believe it. It'd be a reason to burn down this place. At least a city of illithids would be a turn on. But a whole cavalcade of sanctimonious cultists singing Kumbaya? Ugh, I feel dirty even thinking about it. Rose imagines him shivering in disgust. I need a bath. As for who Shadow the Edgelord might be, it's already a tin can, it ponders. Tin Can II, the cannoning. I really hate the idea of it being any one of those. I think I've had enough years of hearing you slobbering over her, and I don't want to think about Gid being that thing, or me. Its voice pipes up at this point. Caradoc, however, wouldn't that be a kick in the teeth for Mr. High and Mighty? Guess even now he still wants to exclusively slay your pussy. Anyway, whether it's the Tin Can's Twink X or anyone else, that's a huge fishing net you're casting out there, including everyone that ever knew you during your stint in Kirkwald. Fucking over-the-top Church of Rose. Yeah, you basically just listed everybody. Good work, Peanut. Can't help you there. Rose can't help but cringe at the Caradoc comment. If it's the first option, then that's absolutely what we'll be doing. I'm sure that'll be a second life worth living for you, shouting abuse at a theocracy as it crumbles beneath your cotton feet, she chuckles. But yes, I have no idea who or what it might be. But I'm not going to get the "do I know you" out of my head anytime soon. Hughes groans. You can't just say my kink words like that and not expect me to get full-mast. Seriously. Now I can't stop thinking of getting my hands on some petroleum and a few matchsticks and going full ham on a bunch of choir boys somewhere. Rose laughs at this. It's always the choir boys with you. Well, I'd ask if you wanted to tag along and go visit the tree, but unfortunately, you're not getting a choice, as you're never leaving my side ever again. Also, remember what Sealang said. Talking against this religion or even asking about the old gods could land me in prison. So I kindly ask that you don't shout "fuck the tree pope" the moment we arrive, please. The doll pauses. That's a tall order, Missy. You telling me I can't do it just makes me want to do it even more. It inhales a deep, sharp breath. Fine. I won't shout it the moment we arrive. Rose turns to respond. Or at all. Otherwise you'll be taking my place as prison bitch. Capiche? We're going to go and find what they're about. Then we burn them to the ground, if we both don't like them. The doll screeches a little. Ah, God, twist my balls and throttle my neck, why don't you? Fine, but you're paying for the petrol. Now, let's go already before you subjugate me to more of your unreasonable demands. Rose bursts out laughing at the display. She prepares to get ready to leave. Firstly, the idea of heading towards the tailor who was repairing her dress. She needs her comfort clothes back before being able to do anything. She feels incredibly unimpressive in her plain white shirt and skirt combo. However, as she's getting ready to leave, there's a knock at the door. Which irks her for a moment. She's still somewhat used to being bothered, even in private rooms, but then she remembers here, people don't know her. So she opens the door and peeks through. Behind the door is Thalgra, who shoots a practiced smile. Hello, Miss Rose, was it? Sorry for the disturbance. I just wanted to check if everything was alright with last night, too. She seems to be peering into the room behind her. Oh, is Prom not here? Oh, yes, my apologies. Rose opens the door to the familiar face. No, Prom is currently with a family friend, working as an apprentice, hopefully. Thank you for looking after her last night. It's difficult being in a new city. Oh, I see. The smile loosens in relief. It was my pleasure, and I'm glad to hear that she's doing well now. Please do let me know if you have any trouble getting around. However, her voice is cut off, and something speaks through a bit more ethereal through her voice. You are quite far from home, Rose Sarmenti. Come, visit me. Your passage through the gates will be secured. And almost as if nothing had happened, Thalgra continues to speak. The streets and stairs here are quite confusing for newcomers. I remember getting lost for hours when I first arrived, so don't hesitate to ask, all right? Rose stammers. You... What was that? Thagra smiles at her in confusion. Her eyes are no longer the bright, scintillating gold it was just a second ago. Oh, would you rather I'd not called you love? She bows her head in sheepish embarrassment. Sorry, force of habit. West of Applemead, you know? Rose pauses. No, you just swapped voices to something totally different and cut back like nothing happened, like something was speaking through you. The innkeeper looks just as perplexed as her. That's certainly rather strange, unless... Thagra's eyebrows wrinkle momentarily in distaste before throwing her chest out in a hearty giggle. Oh, Miss Rose. And here I thought you were new to Monday still. You shouldn't joke about these things, least of all with the guards. Her laugh dies down in a well-meaning smile. I may have left the guard years ago, but claiming that I channeled the voice of the Sophist? That's a mean tease, even from a cute girl like you. But Rose pauses, still confused. Is that what that is? I am very new to these lands, and it's the second time this has happened. In the past 24 hours, no less. She says this with a serious tone and a straight face. Thagra pauses. Miss Rose, please. I didn't take you for such a jester. Thagra is both laughing and looking around in panic. Why, if you'd said that downstairs, you'd practically be inviting the Illuminates to... Her face and arms fall in stunned realization as she gauges the honesty of her words. The energetic innkeeper is at a loss for words as she blinks, hands clasped in muted gravitas. I believe you should pay the Sophist a visit, then. Rose tilts her head slightly. Yes, that's something I was planning to do in the next few hours. She pauses for a brief second. Would you mind finishing that thought? Inviting the Illuminates to... Thagra laughs. Well, you'd only be inviting them to interrogate you for heresy and falsehoods. You get some silly gooses who seek out attention like that, and some Illuminates who don't take too kindly to that. You get a few who are a bit too militant about the Holy Book, but those are few and far between. She leans in to whisper, I'd be a little careful about who I tell that to, dearie, especially here. She withdraws, nodding earnestly as she looks Rose in the eyes. I see. Rose acknowledges the warning, keeping in mind that it's not all good. I suppose it's a redundant question, given the conversation we're having, but you can't tell when it happens? Thagra places a hand on her chin. If you're not pulling my leg... I would have paid an arm and a spleen to hear that happen. I hope I didn't say anything embarrassing. The silent question of its contents hang above her head like a cloud. You said you're quite far from home, Rose Sarmenti. Come visit me, your passage through the gates will be secured. Which, I'm not sure what that means if I'm being truthful. Oh my, Thagra ponders to think, evidently giddy as she mutters. Sarmenti? It's clearly not Kellenan, at any rate. Well, the gates don't open to just anyone, my goodness. And that's just it. Regardless of Rose's lack of knowledge, the innkeeper has fully sunk into the hype. Rose thinks to herself for a moment, letting that feeling build after noting its presence. Well, I suppose I should go then. Though I don't know the way, or what I'm doing in terms of etiquette. Rose glances round in thought, as if weighing the options, when she knows she has none. I know you're currently at work, but if you have some time, would you be willing to guide me there? At this request, Thagra pops off in full blushed excitement, with star-shine gleam in her grin. Say no more, I'll be right there with you, love. In full excitement, the innkeeper goes and slides down the railing of the stairs to the tavern. Junia, be a dear and take care of the lunch rush, would you? The doll waits until Thagra is out of view before speaking. Right, I've heard enough. Get me my pitch, tar, and resin. Rose Snap responds to Hughes. Right, that's what I was talking about last time. It's creepy. Rose says this after stepping behind the door. Well, you're along for the ride now. Enjoy the bumpy road ahead. The last flicker of hope dies out in the doll's guttural groan. The things I do for you. Rose laughs. If you really don't want to go, I'll leave you here, but I'm pretty sure you'd rather be with me than not. The doll continues to whine in the fashion of a petulant teenager. Fat words coming from the ball and chain. Fuck it, whatever. I'll come along and size up this overgrown scratching post. By the time they head down the stairs, Thalgra is already in a travelling bonnet and coat, clutching a travelling pouch in girlish excitement. Ready to go, love? Rose smiles. Indeed I am. I do need to make one quick pit stop at the tailor's to pick up my dress. Is that all right? Rose tries to somewhat match her enthusiasm, but it definitely won't reach her level. Why, certainly, the dolled-up innkeeper gives Rose a once-over. Not that your current dress is unsuitable in any way. Pardon me, I really do rattle on. Let's get a move on, shall we? After wearing a cheery goodbye to the sleepy-looking woman, Thalgra takes Rose through the streets. She has no doubt of her familiarity with the place. She's not so much walking, but waltzing up the many stairs like a choreographed performance. All she would need is a twirling umbrella to complete the picture. Rose lets her know the vague directions of the tailor she visited, and Thalgra hones in on it like a bloodhound. Giving a quick thanks to Thalgra for helping her find the optimal path to the tailor, she walks up to the desk to meet the young man. Hey there, I'm here to collect the dresses. The young man reaches back and pulls from a shelf a pile of folded familiar blue cloth. It was good working on them. Not seen a stitchcraft like that in a while. Almost ashamed to hand them back, really. He hands them over. Try not to ruffle these ones, okay? Rose clearly looks impressed. Repairs and copies made in just one day? You've certainly earned your coin. Do you mind if I use the changing area to swap into it quickly? Rose seems much happier and content knowing that she has her dress back. He shrugs, but his confident smirk is evident. They don't call me the one-man sweatshop for nothing. Yes, go and get changed, he says, waving her off to a nearby changing booth. I can tell you've already been tussling in those new clothes of yours. Thalgra chirps up from behind. It's easy to have multiple hands when you're a wizard. He rolls his eyes, hearing this. A wizard with a fashion degree? Get it right, Thal. Besides, why are you here? Shouldn't you be busy serving potato casserole somewhere? Thalgra lets out a mock gasp. The sass on that mouth. I remember when you were a sweet little boy. Rose chuckles while hearing this from the changing room. She emerges a few moments later in her sanctuary leader dress. She lets out the longest held, satisfied sigh in quite some time. It's good to be back. And true to the tailor's words and skill, her trademark blue dress is expertly repaired. She could barely tell where it had been marred and scratched, and she'd have to be a close eye to see where the bloodstains may have been. Needless to say, it fits like an old glove, some welcoming familiarity in such an unfamiliar place. Rose's appearance from the changing booth elicits a whistle from the innkeeper. My, that looks exquisite on you. You look like one of those patron saints. Not sure why. She regards the outfit with a whimsical tone. I almost feel the urge to get down on my knees and worship. She chuckles. The tailor rolls his eyes again at Thalgra, but can't help but admire his handicraft as she shoots her a wink. Good work, yeah? You get any more scuffs on it? Somehow. He says this almost as if daring her to tarnish it again. You come right back, all right? Rose regards the tailor with praise and thanks and a deep bow. I will ensure nothing happens to your fine work. I will return if I need further repairs. You have my business secured. With that, Thalgra continues taking Rose through the streets, inching closer and closer to the tree as they do. And with the pace, there's still plenty of time for conversation. And there are a lot of questions that Rose wants to ask, but she's still taking Sealand's warning of jail time at face value. Additionally, being invited to someone else's god's domain and asking about the other gods is likely in bad taste. She decides against it. So, you used to work for the guard? I'm seeing a lot of people with golden eyes. With me being an outsider, what does that signify? The innkeeper continues to walk while answering, passing by a guarded temple. I did, yes. One of the Illuminates that took on guard duties. I quit when I met my junior. Everyone who becomes an Illuminate must undergo the Luminate Sacrament of Initiation. To partake in the sap of the tree. We call this substantiation. It gives us our trademark golden eyes and marks us as true believers of luminism. She looks towards the Sophist as she speaks. It is not necessary to practice the religion in general, but some do it as sign of their faith. Rose hums slightly hearing this. So, by my understanding, are Illuminates officials? as in only people in official positions can become an illuminate? Or is that the term for the follower of the faith? Can your average person undergo this process? Thalgra knits her brow, trying to think of the best way to explain such a lifelong concept for her. The illuminates are charged with the official ongoings of Mundi, keeping the peace, general business, or governing as part of the Lumian Church. I suppose officials are the right way to call it. Luminates are the term for the followers of the faith. Not all luminates are illuminates, but all illuminates are luminate. Goodness, what a tongue twister. I believe you must give your service to Mundi for a few years to become one. Or was there residency issues there too? I'm not all so sure now. Born near Applemead, I never quite gave these things a second thought past what I needed to know. Rose offers a small chuckle. When you're immersed in your own culture, you rarely bat an eye at the things that are normal to you. But as an outsider, there's a lot of changes that I'll need to adapt to. Hopefully I won't be ostracized for my lack of knowledge on the subject. While passing through the marsh, I was told that even speaking of other faiths was terribly frowned upon here in Mundi. Thalgra blows a raspberry at this comment. Oh, pish-posh. The shubs aren't the most fond of us. Even if I can see where they're coming from. You'd have to be a few sticks short of a campfire to preach another faith in the holy city, but it'd be folly to ban it outright. We see traders and folks here from all over. A little bit of religious discourse here and there is fine. She waves her hand dismissively. Besides, one of the tenets is to always be open and receiving. To close one's mind is to close off wisdom. Those who do not learn are doomed to repeat the mistakes of our predecessors, or something like that, and the Sophist has always guided us in the right path. Rose hums in a faint agreement as she looks up to the tree. Yes, it is a good mindset to have. I am curious to learn more about many things, both current and past, but I shall save delving into that until after I have concluded this current business. It seems at the time Rose has no more questions she feels comfortable asking. Thalgra nods earnestly in approval as she continues leading Rose through the streets, no less cheery than she was before. There are many stairs. Too many. They all ascend towards the Sophist, like a mountain. It's giving her a cardio workout. Thalgra seems to be undeterred by the exercise, even in her long dress. Meanwhile, Rose is struggling. She's had endurance drills before, but that was when she was fitter, and not sleep-deprived, and not suffering from being displaced into the far-flung future. But if she chose to look back during her ascent, where the city slopes downwards into a sea of radiant gold, she might be compelled to enjoy the rare view, as a soaring bird might witness in the skies. Up or down, there's something magnificent to behold. Of course, it's all a stranger to her eyes. It's not Kelna. It never will be again. Eventually, they reach a circular wall, gated and guarded by two illuminates. They still have some distance toward the tree, but behind the wall are plenty more buildings and houses. Thalgra turns to Rose. Oh, you silly goose. She slaps her forehead as she rolls her eyes upwards. How could I forget? The third ring is barred to all that aren't substantiated. Rose thinks back for a moment. Though the voice mentioned passage would be secured, I suppose now will be the time something comes into play, I hope? She steps forward to introduce herself. Good day. I'm Rose Sarmente. I'm answering a summons that has called me to be here. The illuminates eye her with a discerning gaze, before they step aside. You are expected. Outsider, may you bask in the light. The imposing gates swing open, allowing unrestricted access to the third ring. Rose turns with a triumphant stance to smile again at Thalgra. And with that, I confirmed what I told you earlier. Will you be... Are you allowed to join me inside? Thalgra wears a stunned look of awe, just as radiant golden as the rest of the illuminates. Oh my. She fans herself to cool down her excitement. Well, I believe I can accompany you up to the gates of the final ring, but I don't think I can get past there. I'd still be honoured to walk with you the rest of the way. Rose returns a smile. Then please, be my guest. A friendly face makes taking on the unknown all the easier to manage. I'd be happy to have you along the way, and my thanks for guiding me here and showing how lacking my cardio is. Rose chuckles before having to suck in a deep breath from exhaustion. Thalgra chuckles. You get used to it. Living here, we all have thighs for days. Rose would barely hear one of the fellow Illuminates stifle a snort at her remarks. As Thalgra leads Rose through the gates, she keeps quiet, but the elation on her face is as subtle as a house fire. It's practically screaming, "The voice of the Sophist! Me! Imagine that!" The third ring of Monday is not outwardly different to the first ring, the entrance of Monday. But she feels it in the air, not just the ever-present chanting muted in the churches, but the almost oppressive feeling of magic surrounding this place. From the tall stone buildings of import, or houses that surely belong to the upper echelons of Illuminate hierarchy. She reckons it would be from the gigantic tree in front of her. The Sophist was already titanic when viewing it from the chamber she emerged from, but here it's practically mountainous. She's not sure where the trunk starts and ends. Even as she turns her head left and right, it is slightly ironic that the third ring is slightly darker than the rest of the city, given the size of the tree and its pillared shade. Eventually, they reach the last set of gates, guarding nothing but a field of golden grass, and the Sophist itself. These Illuminates already seem to be expecting Rose. Well, I assume this is my stop. Rose turns to Thalgra, offering a bow and a handshake. My thanks again for accompanying me. I will likely return by nightfall. She says this, making the assumption that she'll be safe. Thalgra beams and shakes her hand like a terrier dispatching a rabbit. Good lord, this woman has a grip. She has the acute mental image of her hand being stuck in a mousetrap. Oh, it was my pleasure, dear. Do return safely. Not that anything will happen. She sounds positively elated. Oh, what an honour to be here. You simply must tell me all about it when you're back. Thalgra pats Rose on the back, encouragingly. She seems to be waiting for her to enter before she returns. Rose bows and smiles once more. I will do. We'll discuss over dinner at the inn, yes? Rose makes her way inside, with a slight edge of trepidation, making a mental note to shake the feeling back into her hand once she's inside. The Illuminates step aside, as the gates of the final ring swing open. You have the privilege of entering the Garden Dilmun, the resting place of the shepherd, in the body of the Aureate Sophist. Conduct yourself with the utmost propriety, outsider. Thalgra gives one last encouraging look before she turns around. And so, Rose enters. Stone tiles melt into soft grass, with fresh dew in the air. It is as if she were back at Applemead Close, except now she's here in the heart of Monday. And what stands before her? The heart of the world. The first sight upon her reawakening. What stands before her is a towering trunk, broad and ancient, glowing with a warm, otherworldly radiance. Up close, its bark shimmers with intricate runic patterns that faintly pulse with inner light. It was impressive as it was, so far away. But here, the branches above her seemed to practically touch the clouds. If there was a celestial plane made manifest on the mortal realm, this might be the closest she'd get. At her feet are the massive roots she saw so much of even out in the swamp, spread outwards and intertwining with the soil like liquid gold. Making slow steps forward, looking around at this monumental entity surrounded by the lush landscape, Rose notes she's alone for now. Still watching, Hughes? She asks quickly before something happens. Yeah, he grumbles. She doesn't imagine it was all too happy with what it heard from Thalgra. I hate it here. It actually feels kinda nice. Birds and bees and shit. Rose chuckles. Can't grumble at the expansive nature and quiet here. Would make a nice retreat. I'm gonna make my way closer now, so try to hold on to your stuffing. Rose walks with more purpose towards the heart of the area, as close to the tree's trunk as she can get. She forges through the golden grasses towards the heart of the garden. There's an aura of reverence, as she does in most sacred of churches. She walks. Her feet would not allow her to do anything else. She arrives at the base of the tree. Whether or not the tree is regarding her now, its presence is utterly unmistakable. Its leaves chime and rustle in the wind, like a distant melody, as if to greet her. Rose cranes her neck directly upwards. She sighs as she loosens her posture, deciding to sit down and place her back against the tree. She speaks out to whoever or whatever might be out there. I'm here. I was told to seek your wisdom. She closes her eyes, running her fingers through the graphs underneath, trying to relax and let whatever is going to happen, happen. She waits, and despite the situation, she does feel eased. The wind blows and soars through the air, caressing her, almost as if to inspect her with its touch. Leaves dance through her braid, and then she hears it. A voice. Metallic and gentle, exactly like the voice she heard. But here, it penetrates her soul. Your face, and your clothes. Yes, even after all these centuries, it is unmistakably you. Rose Garnett, you have returned to us.